In 1888, there was a little girl laughing and playing on the shores of East Lake. The next morning, 2 young men found her body floating in the murky waters. This is one of the tales of the 13 artifacts. The 2 young men called the local coroner, and he pulled the little girl's body from the lake and did the autopsy right there on the lake shore. People had no idea who this little girl was, but they gathered around, and eventually, to make sure they could identify her, they embalmed her, put her in a coffin, and took her around to local school children so that they could identify their friend. When they got over to Lakeshore, the local butcher identified her as Miss Mae Hawes. The police went to the Hawes household and discovered it in a shambles. There was torn clothing, destroyed furniture, and bloody handprints on the wall. They immediately started looking for the rest of the Hawes family, and when they got out to Lakeview Park, the location of the Highland Park golf course, they found a bloody hatchet and a torn piece of little girl's hair ribbon. They drained the lake, and on the first day of draining, they found the body of Mrs. Emma Hawes. She had been murdered with a hatchet to the back of the head. Third day of draining the lake, they found little Miss May's sister. She too had been drowned in the lake. After a complete police inquiry, they found Richard Hawes, who had just married a brand new Mrs. Hawes and was on his way through Birmingham on the final train trip of his life. They boarded the train and arrested him and took him to jail. He was hung February of 1890, and his execution was a total circus of justice. People gathered outside the jail waiting for him to be executed. The deed was done, and his brother claimed the body and took it on a final train ride to Atlanta, where it is buried in an unmarked grave even today. The artifact that we have today is this pair of shoes. I acquired these shoes from a member of the Hawes family. They were in an old box that was labeled May. Come to 13 Artifacts and see if we can use these shoes and a few other artifacts that we have of Mae Hawes to see if we can contact this little lost girl's spirit.